Let's see. Okay, and we're live. Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. Welcome to the first episode of the Crypto Hour for 2023. Now, obviously, being the first episode, we will kind of put things in context and see where we are, what's happening right now in the crypto markets, where we likely to go in the near future, and what are the economic undercurrents which will dominate, not just the crypto market, but all investment markets in 2023. Okay, so let me start sharing straight away. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to do this. Okay, the first thing I wanted to share with you is something kind of quite interesting. This is the calendar for again for this week, the economic calendar, which is fairly light. You can see by the colors of the news releases. Kind of the red ones are the ones we really should pay kind of close attention to, and the yellow and orange ones have got less economic impact. But interesting to say, like the main thing was here on yesterday, the inflation figures for the US dollars. Okay, and as you can see, this is what the market expected, the middle column, and this is the actual result. So as you can see, exactly how the market, what the market had already priced in. Okay, so the inflation figures came at 6.5% against 7.1% that we had the month before. And, month on month, there was a 0.1% decline, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, but the interesting thing that because of pretty much was what the market expected, you would expect nothing really to happen in the markets. Okay, instead, what we saw was real spikes in the price of anything. They were not just things that were dollar related, but everything, especially in the forex market. And we can show you here, for example, on the this is the dollar index, and it's a very short. This is a 5-minute chart. Okay, so just we wanted to show you very quick how quickly these things can happen. So this is where we were at 5 minutes before the news releases, which was at UK time. So this 3:30 for me, but it would be 8:30 New York. Okay, so as you can see, it was a very uneventful day. This is where the market opened, and it pretty much gone sideways the whole day. And then in say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes, we have this whole movement, which it's quite significant. Okay, so this is a dollar index, so it's quite a slow moving index, and it's just kind of like a 1% movement, which is 947 pips. And if we calculate the kind of like a daily average of movement, you can see generally we're talking about 370 pips movement as an average. Sorry, I should go. That was my problem. I should actually go on to the daily chart to look at that. Okay, that journey is, if you kind of look throughout pretty much 2022, we're talking a maximum of 400 and between 400 and 500, and many days even lower than 400 movement. Yesterday we had about almost like 1,000 in half an hour. Now, why is this happening? And to be honest with you, there is no way of explaining it. No way on explaining it, at least logically. And this is the reason why I wanted to highlight it to you, not because it's something that you should be trading. Sorry, let me just get rid of this. not because you should be trading this index, but because I just wanted to make you aware of how easy it is sometimes to kind of like manipulate the markets. Okay, because there is no economic reason for this to happen as it did yesterday. Only if there are people behind it that have kind of vested interest in things going one way or another. So the one thing you can do if you are playing the markets, it's the first thing you should be doing. You should be looking at something like this or something like this. Okay, so you can either use, I mean, I use Forex Factory because it's kind of pretty good. Is what a lot of foreign exchange traders use, and something that is a little bit even more detailed sometimes with things that are not reported in there. You can go on investing.com and and you can also have a look. You can also have a look at the economic calendar on there. Okay, sometimes they kind of more a few more news releases are reported on investing.com than they are on the Forex Factory one. So these are the two things. First of all, if you are in the markets, you should be very careful of being in the market when there is a major news release. Okay, like here, because you don't want to be. Let's go on to 15-minute chart. You don't want to be with orders in the market when something like this can happen. Okay, because generally what people might have done, seeing how things were going, for example, they could have put a stop under this point here, and something like volatility like this will take out everything. And the other thing is that the reason why these huge movements happen is because a lot of players, when there are these news releases, remove their liquidity. So where normally this kind of action is achieved by people buying and selling, so having buy orders and sell orders at certain points, when there is something like this, you can see a lot of players just take all their orders off their books, so remove everything. So and that's why such big movement can happen so quickly. I mean, literally speaking, this is 3:30, and by in just over an hour, we had kind of a 2 days movement one way and 2 days movement the other way. Okay, so whichever way your trade was, unless you were ultra quick, you would have very, very probably lost money. Not only that, but any stops you might have in place might be executed at a much different price than the one you thought your order would be filled. Okay, so be very careful, and do not if you are in the markets, whether you're investing or trading, be very careful when there are news releases, even if what is being reported seems to be of not much consequence. And this is the dollar index, so you expect big the dollar to be affected. So you can see this is the euro US dollar. Okay, and this is the same thing. So there we are. We have a +3 yesterday, and again big movement, 107.27, 108.38. So over 100 pips movement both ways again. Okay, down first, up then. So down, up, down, up. So in this very, very quickly in most of the movements happen between +3 and 4:45. Okay, and then it started as normal, like grinding movement. Okay, as is more regular movement. But the interesting thing that even things that shouldn't be related to the dollar. So, for example, look at the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. Well, everything shows. Where are we? Thursday. So even here, can you see can you see big movements in an hour for something that moves generally quite slowly? Okay, or things like, you know, pounds against, I don't know, Singapore dollar, for example. Okay, so should this be, again, look at this. So it's not just the as I say, things that are directly correlated to the US dollars, you know, so kind of like US dollar pairs, or things that are traded against the US dollars, like Bitcoin, for example. Again, this is a daily. Let's go again to a 15-minute chart. Sorry. Okay, again, we see down here, this is again 330. Again, big movement in very short period of time. Okay. So this is what I mean. Be very, very careful whenever you are in any kind of market, and that's why you need to pay attention to the news. This doesn't mean watching CNBC or Bloomberg or something like this. This is actually paying attention to the news releases, and literally just stay out of the market, even if you are a day trader, for half an hour before and half an hour after the news releases. Okay. Now let's have a look at what the what we might have in store for 2023. Okay, and this is one of the biggest narrative of that we already see in 2022, and we have to look forward to 2023. So I don't know if you heard this term, the inverted yield curve. Okay, this is generally the yield is the interest that you get on certain when you lend money to governments, or kind of like on what is considered like safe bonds or safe investment vehicles. And generally speaking, the longer the time frame, the higher the interest rates. Okay, so long-term interest rates are generally higher than short-term interest rates. But at the moment, we have what is called an inverted yield curve, because many countries have now short-term interest rates. They are higher than long-term interest rates. I mean, any of you, for example, that needs to renew a mortgage, for example, right now, will realize that if they take a kind of like long-term mortgage, say 5 year plus, will cost them less than taking a short-term mortgage out, like 1 year or 2 years. Okay, and this is generally is considered like a predictor of economic recession. If you see here, this is like A-rated countries. They have a totally inverted yield curve, including United Kingdom, Netherlands, Norway, Singapore, as you can see, Germany, Hong Kong, the United States. So, you know, this is most of Western economies. They have inverted yield curve. Some of them are partially inverted here in the middle, and some of them, like Spain and Australia, are minimally, very minimally inverted. It's a long list of countries where, and this is the market that generates these. Is not is what the market expects for lending money to governments, and in the short term, they want more money than to lend than to lend long term. Okay, and these are the kind of like the spreads between, you know, between a 10-year bond and a 2-year bond, and we can see that quite, you know, for some countries are quite high, but even when we have a look at you know, where is the US? So the US is 0.7%, you know, which is significant, very significant at this point. And the same for countries in the European Union, Sweden, Germany, Denmark. The United Kingdom is smaller, at only about 0.1%, but it's definitely, all these are something that we need to be prepared for, because we might it's normally a precursor of economic recession. But the one thing that you all might have noticed, at least in 2023, if you are in either in crypto or the share markets. Sorry, no, I don't need to go there.
Luca, can I ask a question? When you have inverted yield curves, but mortgage interests haven't changed. I mean, it's still more expensive the further out you go.
Well, it depends. I mean, I don't know what it's like in the US. In the UK, they have. So kind of like it's cheaper to take out a 5-year mortgage than it is to take out a 2-year mortgage.
Oh yeah, here it hasn't changed. It's still what you'd expect. The longer the term, the more the interest rates is higher. So I don't know. It hasn't changed in New Zealand, so I'm not sure if that's going to change shortly.
Yeah, I don't know what the situation is. Let's have a look on. What have I done? Have I cancelled that one? I don't know what the situation is in New Zealand, if they have an inverted yield curve or not. I don't know if we can have a look at it. I don't see New Zealand on there, so so it might be kind of like a New Zealand not. Oh, yeah,
it's above Sweden. There you go.
Yeah. So it's quite actually quite noticeable as well in New Zealand. So it could be part of the local mortgage market, but definitely is the situation is just the same as other countries. So it's something that might come somewhere along the lines, you know. So you can see here. So this is the maturity. Oh, sorry. Where have I come? If you can click on each one of them, you can see the difference in maturities. Okay. And also the change as well in the last 6 months and the last month as well. Okay, but and you can see the yield curve analysis here. In kind of like you see the 5 years. This 5 year and 10 years are actually cheaper than the 2 year, than the bank rate. Okay, so it might be something to do with the local mortgage market in New Zealand. Yeah. Okay, this is a instead the reason why we might have seen a, as you can see here by what's happening with Bitcoin, you know, and generally with the crypto market, which has moved from, you know, it said this is where we were at the beginning of the year. Let me just do this. So where are we? This is 31st of December. Okay. So this is where we were on the 31st of December. So we've had quite a growth in 2023 already. At the moment, we are about almost like we went up about 16% at one time yesterday. Now we're sitting about 14.5. Okay, but it's good to ask yourself, okay, what's responsible for this? What is responsible for this, and why, as you know, why are kind of like risk assets all of a sudden seems to be more attractive? Okay, and cryptocurrency is one of those. Okay, so if we see what's happening to Bitcoin, but also if we go into just like a CoinGecko, for example, we can see the market cap up here. You can see the last 30 days. So again, we were at 824 billion, and we are now at 942. So 120 is that, again, as you can see, almost like, so somebody can do the math. I think it sounds like about 15% as well. Yeah, 832, 942, so 110. Yeah, so something like that. So it kind of like it mirrors the growth of Bitcoin at the same time. Now there are two reasons for that. Okay, first of all, and this is the main reason why things are starting to pick up again. These are the inflation figures of the G20 nations. Okay, and as you can see, some of them are still experiences growing inflation. Like, for example, you can see in China, Japan, Indonesia, and some other countries are, the inflation is going up rather than down. But I would say across the board in most countries, we can see that the inflation is starting to move back in the kind of like a right direction for economic growth, because and this is something just roughly speaking. Okay, we can see that the UK is still lagging behind at about still over 10%, but the euro area has kind of like gone from 10% to 9%. US, like it was reported yesterday, from 7.1 to 6.5. And what we have to look forward to in the next couple of months, especially after with the figures that will come out in March and April, is that because the war in Ukraine started in February, that's what caused a sharp increase in energy prices, oil and gas. And after the figures of February have gone through and we moved on to March, the effect of the war of Ukraine and the increase of gas prices and oil prices on inflation will actually drop off the inflation figures, because then inflation is measured against 12 months previously. So as the prices in March were already high compared to now, the effect on inflation would either be zero, or even it could even be negative, because if the prices in March are lower than what they were in March 2022. Okay, so these are kind of expected, these figures to go down, especially in the US, to well below 5%. By the time we get into quarter two of this year, so by April, and that should be a good boost for companies to start investing, because at the end of the day, what markets don't like is not being able to predict risk. Okay, because if you are investing in something, whatever that is, you put in your hard-earned capital at risk, you want to have a good idea of what is going to happen and what kind of results that your investment can generate. And at the moment, what's happened in 2022, that nobody knew at what time the central banks will stop raising the cost of capital, okay, by increasing interest rates. Okay, and so made investing very, very difficult, and many companies held back from investing because of the uncertain economic climate. Now, with inflation going down, there is less of a need for countries to actually keep increasing interest rates aggressively. Okay, and so what we will see in the next interest rate decision in the US is in next month, in February. There hasn't been one in January. The next time, what we are likely to see, it's a slowing down of the pace of increases. So there might be, instead of being a 0.75% rise or 0.5% rise as we've seen before, we may only be seeing either 0.5% or even 0.25% rise in February, and then the smaller increases from then on. The market is expecting, as priced in, the future inflation, the future interest rate levels by the end of 2023 to be at 4.9%. Okay, at the moment we're 4%. So there's still some pain to come. Okay, some increase in interest rates to come this year, and interest rates are not expected to decline in 2023. So expected to keep to that level just below 5% for the rest of the year. Okay. Okay. Now let's go and have a look at some of the things that we can be expecting. And for those of you that follow Katie Wood and ARK Invest, it's really interesting. They've got a very good research center that you can consult for free. And this is something that she's the Cathy Wood, the CEO, is talking about what the market overlooked in 2022. Okay, and these are things that have been growing in the background, and although the investments have flown out of these markets from the point of view of speculation, and they still have kept growing in the background. So things like you might have heard, as some of you that have maybe even used ChatGPT. There's this new way of artificial intelligence-led search that is actually, some people think they will overtake Google as a search engine, because you can use ChatGPT in a conversational mode. So pretty much you can ask questions the same way that you would talk to another person, which will eventually bring to better results from the search, and also more understanding as well, more understandable results. These are some of the other results. The connected TV, what's called range of services as well, and they kind of like they are taking more a bigger part of television advertising revenue. The biggest sector that's been carried on growing is the digital wallets, that have already in 2020 had overtaken cash as a top transaction method for offline commerce. So this is not talking about kind of like a PayPal or Square and things like this. During the 3 years from the 2019 to 2022, for example, Square's payment volume soared by 193%. Okay, at 6 times faster than 30% increase in total retail spending. Okay, these are some of the other sectors that are growing, they're growing quickly. Social commerce, okay, and again, growing at 300% compared to 99% of e-commerce. Obviously, here this is a crypto hour, so we wouldn't, we need to talk about blockchain technology. So with everything that happened and the exchanges that collapsed in 2022, we're still increasing on the number of, and we'll see kind of some of the news they have selected for you today. We still increase the number of companies and corporations that are adopting blockchain technology, which is kind of, again, is expected to be the technology for the next decade that will slowly be taking over from cloud computing. And this is some of the other technology, like electric vehicles, autonomous driving, autonomous logistics, 3D printing, space exploration, and industrial robots. This last one is interesting because even with the problems, with China and the impact of COVID-19, the sales of industrial robots increased by about 30%. Okay, so the innovation goes ahead even in those cases. And then there are, you can read these articles yourself. As again, just go to arkinvest.com and research center, and you can access these articles. So there are a lot more markets like gene editing and gene therapies and so on that are worth having a look at. So the attention of what can happen in 2023, because just remember that lots of the markets, including crypto and many of the technology stocks and shares, have dropped by 70-80%. So what that means is companies dropped by 80%. So let's go imagine it's going from 100 to 20. If you can imagine that these are good companies and they got to go back to a value of 100, that means a 400% increase from where we are today. Okay, so this is the kind of potential gains that we can see by investing in some of those more riskier, what they consider more riskier investments compared to bonds or mutual funds or anything like this, or the general market. Okay. Going on to crypto, obviously we need to start from apart from we talked about Bitcoin. Let's one more thing about Bitcoin. Okay, so although we have grown 15%, this is still considered a bear market rally. Okay, so it doesn't mean that we are in a bull market all of a sudden. And to be honest with you, for me, I won't consider that we are back in the bull market before we are back into, let's take a little bit down, kind of like we are back about 30,000, I would say. Okay, so we can overcome this huge drop. Okay, so anything below 30,000 for me will still be a bear market rally. So it's not, I would say, you can make your own decisions. Okay, and obviously, I think going forward in time, will be very few times where Bitcoin will be back at these prices. But I think that from a technical point of view, we got to see this as the dominant movement so far this year in 2022, and kind of like it will take a while before we can be kind of like confident that it's we'll say the tide has turned, and we're now aiming towards the previous highs of over 60,000. Okay, now talking about Ethereum now. So we can have a look at this at the on-chain metrics for Ethereum. And what you can see, since we gone through the merge last year, now we the Ethereum is burning. Ethereum doesn't have a cap like Bitcoin. A maximum cap is an open-ended supply. But since the merge and before the merge last year, they started burning part of the transaction fees. So the net effect is that by the end of the first year, it is expected to be the issue, and the total issue is expected to be negative. At the moment, it is estimated at minus 0.13%. Okay, so that means that pretty much the supply of Ethereum will stay stable or slightly negative. So that means that if, again, we're talking about demand and supply, as we're saying, for the value of things, that if the demand keeps being high and the supply keeps being limited, then obviously price will react in a positive way. So just keep that in mind as well. Now, before we're going to move on to other news, there are obviously some security aspect to consider, and this is one of the latest news to be aware of. Okay, so this is an alert that came directly from MetaMask about a new scam that's called address poisoning. Okay, so this is kind of fraudsters that have kind of created some scam accounts for themselves, and then they start sending creating kind of like some transactions in your transaction. So basically sending you 0 tokens, so that their address appears in your transaction list. Because many people actually, when they are sending money out, they copy the address to send out from the transaction list, and they just copy the address from there. So basically, these bad actors hope that you, by mistake, copy the wrong address and send real funds to this wrong address, and then obviously the funds are lost. So it's always good to create for yourself an address book for the addresses that you use, and make sure that you send to those addresses, and don't just take the kind of shortcut or copying it from your transaction list, which could cause problems like this. Okay, and another thing that you should also be careful of, if you see tokens appear in your account that you haven't requested, you got no knowledge of, just ignore them completely. Okay, so don't try to transfer them, sell them, or do anything else. So they just ignore them, because those can cause problems as well for you. Now, the biggest announcement that we've had this past week or so is related to Avalanche. Okay, so if you know AWS, Amazon Web Services, and Avalanche collaborate to offer scalable blockchain solutions to all. Okay, so for those of you that are not familiar with AWS, this is the service that powers a good chunk of websites on the net. Okay, so they all all the content of websites will be stored on AWS or on. So the three big players are Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. Okay, and those are the ones that offer more server space for website to store their content. So what will happen is that Avalanche, as a technology that they started, they introduced a while ago and started being used last year, was the one of creating kind of a subnets, kind of like a side chains in a way. There can be can be used by the customers to create either permissioned or permissionless blockchains using the Avalabs infrastructure. So what this does basically would be bringing to everybody the possibility to create your own blockchain. Okay, and Avalanche is also one of the is one of the big players in terms of cost and speed and et cetera, et cetera. So at the moment, this being tested. There are a few subnets on Avalanche already. Some of you may be familiar with DeFi Kingdom that has a Avalanche subnet, but this would bring then tens and possibly hundreds of subnets with a partnership with Amazon that can be deployed in the next 12 months. Okay, so obviously this is a big news for Avalanche, and if you want to see what effect he has had on the so there you are. It's been received pretty well, as you can see. So this is where the announcement was, okay, on Wednesday. And let's see, 32% in 6 hours. Okay, so it's not a bad deal. And at the moment they're sitting on 25% increase from then. So they've retained most of the price increase that came because of the news. Okay. Now moving on. This is another news about Cardano. As we know, we always talk about Cardano in this crypto hour, and this is a kind of really good news for the whole ecosystem. Now, Input Output Global is one of the founders of Cardano, is the company of Charles Hoskinson, the brain behind let's say the Cardano project. So they released a software toolkit in late January that will enable developers to deploy custom-built sidechains on Cardano. Okay, so not only that, but they will be available to choose their own consensus mechanism using the Cardano architecture. So anybody will be able to launch again the Ethereum compatible sidechain, but still use the Cardano security. So this will be particularly interesting because it's already, we already have a service where Ethereum apps can now link to Cardano, but this will make it even easier, so that so then it will be easier for projects on Ethereum to also release on Cardano. So we'll bring extra liquidity also to the Cardano blockchain. And as you all know, there have been kind of launches planned for Cardano native stablecoins, which will improve the liquidity on the chain as well. What are we? Let's do another 5 minutes and then we'll take questions. We probably won't be able to do all the news that are selected, but so this is kind of important to bring up as well. Kind of like there's been a survey by Casper Labs and Zombie Analytics. And around enterprises, there is a very, very positive sentiment around blockchain. This is about the technology, okay? Not about buying coins or buying tokens or prices of anything. But most 90% of businesses surveyed reported deploying blockchain technology in some capacity. Okay, with 87% saying they plan to invest in blockchain in the next year. Okay, so whatever happens to the price of crypto, the technology is not going anywhere. This is the technology of the future, and you know, prices eventually will follow, but it's not prices. You know, when you're looking at such an early technology, price is not everything. Okay, what is going on in the background and how much work is going on is more important than that. This is another very important news. Again, Hong Kong is setting up a short list of tokens that retail will be able to trade. So we still don't know. It hasn't been announced which coins will make this list, but what we already know is that there's Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs that have already been approved in Hong Kong. So definitely, at least Bitcoin and Ethereum will be tradable, and then we'll see which other countries, which other coins will make this list as well. Okay, another couple of things that to be aware of. Again, another one. Sorry, let me just first go on to Cardano for another second. This article doesn't really say anything new, okay? But what is the reason why I'm pointing it out to you, and that now because all of a sudden Cardano has grown like 30% in the past couple of weeks, people are starting to take notice, and then started to take notice and trying to understand, oh, why has Cardano gone up? And it's still there, you know, and these are two of the things that for me will be strongest in the Cardano ecosystem in the near future. One of them is decentralized finance, because of the extra security that Cardano offers compared to the Ethereum ecosystem. And the other one is development activity. I mean, Cardano has been number one for years in development activity on chain, but nobody has taken any notice because a lot of the marketing spend was going to promote projects on Ethereum, projects on Solana, and kind of like the next, you know, the next thing since sliced bread that was being promoted, without looking at the work that needs to be done to bring projects from the initial concept stage to being able to use as a mass product that can replace some of the products that we use today that are not crypto related. Last thing I wanted to share with you, apart from Genesis, this is another thing that you should be careful of that could affect this, say, rallying price of crypto, because we still have this big headache sitting and being able to affect, again, the whole crypto market. This is Genesis and Gemini that are still like 3 billion in debt, And the digital currency group, which is sitting at the moment with egg on its face, because, you know, as a big investor in cryptocurrency, not being able to see what was happening in FTX and blaming FTX for their problems, it doesn't speak very well for the rest of their businesses, and they have big businesses like Grayscale, like some news items and so on. So there is a lot riding on this, and if this was to go down, you know, it will take the whole crypto market another leg down. Okay, so act gingerly whatever you're doing right now, and keep your eyes open for anything that's likely to happen there. And the last thing, we're talking about the Web3, kind of these new like crypto interactive apps, that is still, it's kind of like, we know that this is the way that the internet will go and will mature, but at the moment it still needs a lot of work on interface, on user interface, because it's still too difficult, too technical to get used by everyone. But at the same time, there is a lot of money, a lot of work that is going on for making this happen. Not quite sure exactly if you can say that any of the players that are here today are the ones that would benefit from from this sector in the future. The same way as, you know, the early movers in the Web2 were not the winner eventually. So there were players before the Facebook, before the Googles, that are not there anymore, and they were dominating the scene at the time. So, but definitely this again is another thing that's here to stay. So just it will take some work before it gets there. So I think it's I think I've talked for long enough. So let's now take some questions. Let me see your faces and let's start seeing some of your questions. Anybody will volunteer? So feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Go on, Eric.
Luca, I heard about JET and how big it will be, and the tokens one gets. What do you think about it?
Well, I think the as I was saying before, I think that the DeFi on Cardano would be massive eventually. It will take some time to build because Cardano doesn't do hype. But definitely stable coins are necessary for that to happen. And there are two big projects. There's a USD linked stablecoin being launched, and there is the DJET as well, which is an algorithmic stablecoin. I mean, going forward in the future, we will need to have algorithmic stablecoins because obviously we all know that the trajectory of the dollar, and we're all in crypto because we know that this is probably going to replace money as a mean of exchange. So we will need to find a different way to relate value that is not directly connected to fiat money. So the field of algorithmic stablecoins is still it still needs to be broken in a way, because it's all very experimental at the time. And DJET looks like a very, very good option at the time because it kind of can over collateralize algorithmic stablecoin. So I got very good very good feel about it. And also with the integration, as the way that Cardano is going, is doing a lot of work with what we're seeing with Milkomeda, and now with the launch of the new toolkit from IOG to be more less isolated and connected to a lot of different ecosystems. So you will be able to. And I know that it's kind of like Charles Hoskinson has joked about it. but literally you will be able to run Solana on Cardano or to run another blockchain completely on Cardano, because the technology is there now to be able to use, to take the weight of the things that they can do well, because it needs all the years of research and work that Cardano have done and other blockchains haven't done, but they could bring what they do well to a Cardano as an ecosystem, so that it could be, if some people can look beyond this kind of like football-like rivalry, it could be a win-win situation for many ecosystems, because at the end of the day, there would be, at the moment, there are like many different layer 1 projects. Many of those will not survive, but there will be some big winners in 4, 5, 6 years times, and those are the ones that are doing the hard work right now. I mean, generally speaking, I would say what I tend to see as in a way as a narrative is that less people now are looking at the next shiny object, and more people are looking for the real work that's going on behind the lines. So then projects like like Cardano, like Polkadot, like Algorand, even like Ergo, are coming to the fore, because these are the people that are actually producing innovation, not just for themselves, but for the whole industry. Okay, so this is how I see it. And the first step, obviously, for any blockchain to attract liquidity is to have stable coins. So it's a very important step, I think, for Cardano to have 2 projects that are actually coming to market at the same time. Okay.
Are you invested in, or will you invest in Jet?
Well, it's not. I mean, stable coins are not something that you actually need to invest in. You can invest in if you want to do some yield farming or to produce liquidity, but those are just the liquidity liquidity things that you use when you want to move funds around from one place to another. They're not really kind of like you don't invest in USDC or USDT. They just needed to be there to provide liquidity for people to exchange assets to one place and another. Okay, they're not really an investment grade asset, so to speak. Just a place where to park your money instead of parking it in US dollars or pounds or Swiss francs or whatever else. Okay, anybody else has questions?
Just on that note, though, is there a way to, like with Cardano, to actually do the investment it's going to provide liquidity for them to do more of this development? Because you're saying that that's kind of where it's all going now. There's a lot of background stuff. It's not just maybe, NFTs and stable coins and things like that. Is there a company to like buy stock in or something like that?
I mean, you're talking about companies that provide development on Cardano?
Well, no. I say like in Cardano, you said they've got these projects that they're doing different things. Some of the crypto thing has been looking at making investments on something to make money on a stable coin or whatever. But that's one side I look at it, but the rest of what's going on is like background development in that company to expand their offerings and to, what they're capable of doing. So is there like stock in that company versus the stable coin to do something like that?
Yes, I mean, it's generally speaking, Cardano has a good system of promoting say new development, and it's like a community system called Catalyst. So where every month the owners of ADA tokens vote for who should receive funding for particular projects. Now, when you're talking about, if you're talking in particular about the stable coins like DJED, for example, DJED is being developed by Coty, So obviously, if DJed does well, the quoted stock will do well as well. But generally speaking, what's a really good opportunity right now is the Cardano ecosystem. So apart from, if you were to buy Cardano tokens, that's already, a good, in a way, future-proof investment. But it's like, if Bitcoin goes up, some of these smaller crypto tokens will go up a lot more. The same thing, if Cardano goes up, some of the Cardano projects, Cardano tokens, will grow a lot more than the ADA token. Okay, so I think where this year a very good potential for investment is projects that are launching on Cardano, which is they're still very young, because the innovations they allowed for actually dApps to be released on Cardano only a few months old. So there are hundreds of projects that are ready to launch. They just you add two things, because there have been kind of like the functionality that's quite recent. The second thing is like completely new programming language that a lot of these the people that are launching these dApps had to learn, because Cardano's launched a completely new language for creating these dApps, and obviously the number of developers that can use that language is limited. So it's taking time to do all of this, but there are literally hundreds of places that of dApps that are ready to be launched. And if you want to know more about this, just follow Jonathan. If you're on the call, can you please post the link to your session? Jonathan does a session on Cardano every Friday at 9:30. So definitely, if you want to know more about the Cardano ecosystem, go and join Jonathan's session on Discord. And by the way, for those of you that are taking part in the investment in A Starter, go and join on the call today, because if you have if you need any help technical help in how to transfer your tokens to the multi-signatory wallet, then Jonathan can help you there today as well. Okay. All right, guys. Any more questions? We've got a couple of minutes left, so a couple of one or two quick questions. No, if there are no questions, maybe Jonathan, if you are on, would you like to? I don't know if you actually seen the release of the toolkit from AOG, or at least the press release, and you want to tell people what that might mean for the ecosystem of Cardano. I don't know if you can speak right now or not. We can see your picture, but not your voice. Okay, no worries. No worries. We'll leave it then as a. If you want to know that, then just go and listen to Jonathan at 9:30.
Hi, Luca. Sorry, found my mute button. I'm on the phone, not the computer.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw the release of the toolkit. I haven't looked at it yet myself, but yeah, it's just another arrow in the quiver for all the developers out there building. It's gonna be yeah, it's an exciting time. There's so many different projects launching. I mean, for example, the A Starter opportunity you just mentioned that I'll be helping people with on board this morning. That is built by Emergo, who are one of the 3 founding companies around Cardano, so IOHK, Cardano Foundation, and Emergo. And the A Starter opportunity is their flagship project built from the Emergo community. So Emergo themselves chase after the large things. So they are the guys who are releasing the USD-backed stablecoin on Cardano, which is what's it? It's the USDA, they've called it. So that will be launching this month, they say, which is yeah, I haven't heard a lot from them since before Christmas, so we'll see whether it actually launches this month, but it's imminent. And the A Starter opportunity that you managed to arrange for us all is very related to that. So again, it's going to be the rise of all ships in this ecosystem, from from this point. I think, like you said, so it's exciting.
Yeah. And actually, one thing that's interesting about the USDA is that we often talk, Mark often talks about the unbanking, and this is going to be kind of like unbanking on steroids, in the sense that you can literally deposit, you would be able to deposit US dollars from any bank and take out stable coins. So the actual onboarding and offboarding from crypto would be made really, really easy. And we can see, a near future for everybody to be able to unbank easily using the Cardano blockchain. So it's exciting time. But guys, we've got to 9 o'clock, so I need to close this call. I sorry if I'm not feeling 100% today, so sorry if I kind of I talk for like 50 minutes without pause, without catching my breath. And next time I will be calmer, probably, and taking it easier. But I'll see you again next week on Friday. And if you're part of my mentorship group, then I'll see you on Monday as well. Okay, so goodbye everyone, and just if you're coming on the Monday call, remember to send in your homework. Okay.
Thanks so much, Luca.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, goodbye everyone.